Hey guys, welcome back. We had on our question, this was problem number, as you can see, it was problem number, I think it is 2. By mistake, it is written 1. Okay. So what we were doing, solving problem number 2, and we have having these many journals already completed. Look at these. First part of the question has been completed. We have entered all the transactions which were present in our question into journal. Then we have started making our ledger. I think it was your debit side. So here you had made ledger. Up till now, ledger for cash was completed. Ledger for capital was completed. Ledger for furniture was completed, and that's all. It means 3 ledgers we have already completed, and now we will proceed and will start making next ledgers. Entries which were marked, you can see over here. So we are going to make ledgers for those entries which are still unmarked. Here you can see motor car. This motor car is still unmarked. So let's start making ledger for motor car. What we will do, we will take headings from the previous ledger. For me it is little easier, and I will use same heading for making next ledger. And since you know that the next ledger we are making is motor, alright, and this was your motor car, alright, write down its title first. So you are needed to change the title, and instead of furniture we have written motor car. And secondly, let's change the title as number as well. We are up to fourth account. Rules are same. We will see motor car in our journal entries. If motor car is present on debit side, we will choose this debit side. If motor car is present on credit side, then we will go to the credit side and will put values over here. Debit do debit and credit do credit. Let's come over here. Motor car was debited in January 1B with 24,000. So come over here and write down 24,000 in debit side. Now let's see what was its reference. You can see 24,000 is debited. What is written on the opposite side? That is 2 capital. So we are going to write 2 capital in our reference side. It's now time to see the date. For date you have put this motor car. January 1B is the date. Put January 1B in date column. Posting for 24,000 is completed. As we have put the date, we have put the reference, 24,000 is completed. So mark it as it has been done just by changing. So you have changed the color, it has been marked. It will show that entry has been rightly posted. We are making motor car ledger, and we will see if motor car is present elsewhere. Going down in our journal entries, and we are having a quick view, but very carefully see if motor car is present elsewhere. Question is completed, motor car is not present anywhere else. What does that mean? Posting for the motor car is completed. It's time to calculate its balance. First step is to take sum of both sides. Sum of debit side is 24,000 and sum of credit side, nothing is mentioned over here. It means sum of credit side is 0. First step you have completed. You have summed both sides, 24,000 debit, 0 credit. Now choose the larger sum. 24,000 is the larger sum. So go on total of both sides and write down 24,000 on total of debit side, and you are going to write same 24,000 on credit side as well. Go over here and write 24,000. So this is the step you are going to take. You have summed up both sides, took larger sum and had written on total of both sides. This larger sum would be written on total of both sides. Next step, choose smaller side. Here the total was 0, it means it is smaller side, and you will choose here to calculate by balance. And how you would calculate this initial balance, you can see here. You will subtract smaller total from the larger total. That means on calculator you will write larger sum first and then you will subtract smaller sum. What was the larger sum? Here you can see 24,000 right now, and you are going to subtract what? Smaller sum, and smaller sum was 0. Put 0 over here. This way you have calculated your initial balance. As you will calculate this initial balance, next responsibility is to bring it down. What we are going to do, we will choose opposite side first. Okay, the initial balance was calculated on credit side. We will go to the debit side and we'll choose the downward side next cell of the next cell to the total. So it means we are bringing it down. First step to go debit side and second step to bring it downward. Same balance which you have calculated over here was 24,000. It was initial balance. You will bring it downwards, but opposite side will a changed name. Here you will write to balance, but this balance would be with the twisted name BD, means you have brought this balance down. What you have done, initial balance was written upward, that means upside of total, and then you have brought it down, downside of the total, brought down. That is why it is called balance brought down. This was the purpose of making motor car ledger. As we have calculated our balance, purpose is completed. It means we can mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after the closing balance. These sums were written just for the reference, though they are not needed to be put over here. You can erase them. Motor car ledger is completed. Let's go back to our question. We have completed this motor car ledger and we will search now next unmarked element. Here you can see 40,000 is unmarked. So stock would be our next ledger, and what we will do, we will take headings from the previous ledger and we will use same headings for making the next ledger, except a process of changing the title. Now instead of motor car we are going to make ledger for stock. Let's change its number as well. Now we are making fifth ledger. You can see that all other headings are similar. We will see stock in journal entries. If stock is present on debit side, we will put this stock on debit side of the ledger as well. Here first stock we have seen on January 1C, it is debited by 40,000. So we will go to the ledger and we'll write 40,000 on debit side. It's time to see its reference. Stock was debited. Here you can see stock was debited by 40,000. What is written on opposite side? 2 capital. So this 2 capital will be used as reference. 2 capital you will write. Reference has been fulfilled. Now see what was the date of this 40,000. Amount 40,000. Date was January 1C. Put date over here, January 1C. Date is filled, reference is filled, amount is filled. It means this stock of 40,000 has been posted rightly. Mark it as it has been done. So we are making ledger of stock. Now look if stock is present anywhere else. From here, right after first stock, you are going to start searching this stock. If it is present in any other journal entry present in our question, you will have to search it again and again for every element. You have seen all the entries present in journal, stock was not present over there. What does that mean? All posting related to stock is completed. It means you are now ready to calculate the balance. Step number 1, take sum of both sides. Sum of debit side is 40,000 and sum of credit side, as you can see, nothing is mentioned on credit side, so sum is 0. Now you will see and make comparison. Sum of both sides, make comparison which one is the larger sum, that is 40,000. You will choose this sum and will write larger sum 40,000 on both sides. Here you have written 40,000 on debit side. Now repeat this 40,000 on credit side as well. Step is completed. You have summed up. Larger sum was chosen. and had written on total of both sides. Now see which side is the smaller. Here balance was 0, so smaller side is credit side. So you will choose smaller side to calculate your balance, but we are going to calculate our initial balance. How this initial balance will be calculated? When you will subtract smaller sum from the larger sum. On calculator you will write larger sum and will subtract smaller sum. So what was the larger sum? Written over here is 40,000, and you will now subtract the smaller sum, which you can see is 0. Put 0 over here. So here you have calculated your initial balance. Next step is to brought it down. We have calculated first balance. It was calculated on the credit side. First step is to go to the opposite side. Opposite side is debit and come downward. Down step to the total and write down same balance which you have calculated over here. I have highlighted. So balance have been brought down. How? Balance was written upside of the total, and now you have written this balance downside of the total. Change its name. You will write it balance, but this balance would be considered as brought down. That is why you are mentioning it BD, brought down. The purpose of making ledger of stock was to calculate balance brought down, and we have already calculated. Purpose is sorted out, and it's time to close it, but by putting a closing line over here means stock ledger is completed. These sums were written just for the reference, and they are now unneeded to be written over here, so you may erase them. Stock ledger we have completed. It's time to go back to our question. What we have done, this stock was written and ledger of stock is completed. Now next unmarked entry is 76,000, which is for the bank. So now we understand that next ledger would be made for the bank. What we will do, we will hire headings from previous ledger and going to use same headings for next ledger. The only thing we will change is to edit its title. We are now making ledger for bank and change its number as well. We are now going to make sixth ledger, and that is associated with the bank. You can see that all other headings are same. If bank is present on debit side in journal, we will choose debit side in ledger. If bank is present on credit side in journal, we will choose credit side of the ledger. Now let's find out where bank is present. Right from the start, these are marked entries, and you are no need to focus upon them as they have already posted to the ledgers. Here your first entry arrived, bank is debited by 76,000. Go to the bank ledger and write down 76,000 on debit side. Now it's time to see its reference. First bank you have posted on debit side. What is written on the opposite side? It's to cash. Go back and write down to cash over here as a reference. Reference is completed. Debit side 76,000. Now see what was the date of this 76,000. Here you have posted 76 and date is January 3rd. Come over here and write down January 3rd date. Date is completed. Reference is completed. Amount has been posted. And now it's time to mark it as it has been done. We have completed its posted. First bank is posted, and now we are liable to see, responsible to see if bank is present anywhere else. This bank has been posted. Start your searching and see if bank is present anywhere else. So we have found out bank is credited January 12th, credit with 2000. So go to our bank ledger and write down 2000 on credit side. So here you will put 2000. Now see from where you have taken this 2000. 2000 was present over here. Bank was credited. What is written on the opposite side? It's drawings. Come to the ledger and write down reference with an additional word of by drawings. Alright, check its date. 2000 was the amount and see what was its date. You will have to find out where 2000 is. Alright, so this was your 2000 and date is January 12. Now you can see there are so many entries, so you will have to focus, and if you will lose your focus it would not be possible for you to maintain its sequence. January 12 is the date for 2000. Here you are putting January 12. Date has been mentioned and reference is mentioned for 2000. It means this bank has been posted in proper way. Mark it as it has been done. So still bank is not completed. We will have to see bank if it is present in next entries. Yes, we have found out in very next entry it is bank which is created by 6000. So you will again go to your bank account, will write 6000 over here. It's time to see the reference for 6000. Here you have seen bank is credited. What is written on the opposite side? It's to cash. One second, 6000 is credited, so it is written by cash. You are needed to put over here cash is written. See what was the date of 6000. It is January 16. Put January 16 over here. Date is mentioned, reference is mentioned, 6000 amount is written. It means this 6000 has been posted properly, so mark it as it has been done. So we have completed entry for bank over here. Let's see if bank is present anywhere else. Next entry, yes, we have found out bank yet again. It is credited by 17,600. So go and write down on credit side 17,600. Time to see its reference of 17,600. This was your bank. What is written on the opposite side? Imran account payable. Come over here and write down Imran, which was your account payable. Reference is completed. It's time to see 17,600 date. This is January 19. Come over here and put the date January 19. Date, okay. Reference we have mentioned. Amount 17,600 is posted. That means this amount is rightly converted into ledger. Mark it as it has been done. Still bank ledger is not been completed. We will see if bank is present anywhere else. Come to downward and see entries. Yes, we have found out bank yet once again. On January 31 bank is credited by 600. Go to bank ledger and write down 600 on credit side. See what was its reference of 600. This was 600 we have posted. What is written on the opposite side? Rent. Come down and write down rent by an additional word of by. It's time to see the date of 600. This is your entry. Date was January 31. Put date over here January 31. Date is completed, reference completed, amount is properly written for 600. So this bank's amount of 600 has been posted rightly. It means you are now open to market as it has been done. So this bank has also been posted. Let's see if bank is present anywhere else. Yes, again bank has been arrived. It is credited by 50 rupees. So you will go to the credit side and will write 50 over here. See what was the reference of this 50. Bank charges is written on the opposite side, so you will use same reference over here and will write bank charges but with an additional word of by. It's time to see its date. This 50 we have posted, date is January 31B. So put date over here January 31B. Date is mentioned, reference given, 50 rupees 50 posted. It means this 50 is accomplished. Mark is at is has been done. So it was the last entry. What does that mean? That all entries related to bank has been posted in bank's ledger. So it's time to calculate its balance. What you will do, you will calculate sum of both sides in first step. Here you can see 76,000 is the total over here. This was the only amount over here, so sum is also 76,000. Next you will take sum of amounts present on credit side as well. So how many amounts are present? What you will write on calculator? 50, 600, 17, 6 and 2. and you will sum all the amounts present over here. So step is completed. 26,000 is sum of credit side, 76 is the sum of debit side. Now make a comparison of both. This sum is the larger sum, that is 76,000. Choose this sum and write on total of both sides. What word I am using? Both sides. So you have written 76,000 on debit side. Same total you are going to post on credit side as well. This step is completed. Now choose the smaller side. 76 debit, 26 credit, so smaller side is credit side. There you will write your balance, but which balance? Initial balance. How would you calculate this initial balance? By subtracting small sum from the larger sum. On calculator, what you will write? Larger total minus small total. Here you have seen larger total was 76,000, and then subtract smaller total. Smaller total was 26250. This way you have calculated your initial balance. It's time to brought it down. For that purpose you will go to the opposite side. Here you have calculated initial balance on credit side. Go to the debit side and bring this cursor to the downwards. Down step to the total. Here you will write the same balance which you have calculated as initial balance. Initial balance was 49750. You are going to brought it down to the opposite side. That is why now you will change its name. It's to balance, but which balance you are going to write? It is balance brought down. How? Balance was present on upside and you have brought it downside. So we named it balance brought down. Purpose of making bank ledger was to calculate balance brought down, and we have already calculated. Purpose is sorted out, so you may mark it as it has been done after calculation of balance brought down. These sums were calculated just for the reference. Now they are not needed to be written over here, so you may erase them. We have completed our bank's ledger. Let's go back to our question. Here was your bank, and now we will see what next entry is unmarked. Bank ledger is completed, it is marked. Next unmarked element is purchase. So you can understand that next ledger's title is purchase. What we will do, we will use the same heading present in previous ledger, and these headings will be used to make next ledger as well, just by changing the title. And now title would be used purchase ledger and change its number as well. Six ledgers we have completed. It's seventh ledger, and rule will be same. If amount of purchase is present on debit side, you will choose debit side over here. If amount is present on credit, you will choose credit side over here. It's time to see where purchase is present. You can see question is starting from here. All above entries are marked. First purchase is here and it is debited by 18,000. Go to your question, to your ledger, and write down 18,000 on debit side. So this way your posting is completed. It's time to see 18,000 reference. This purchase 18,000 you have posted, and what is written on the opposite side? It's Imran. So that word Imran would be used as reference. Write down here Imran with an additional word of 2. Imran was your account payable. It's important to mention account payable as well. Reference is written for 18,000. Go back and see the date for 18,000. Here you can see January 5 is the date. Come back and write down date January 5. Let's confirm 18,000 date was January 5. Okay. It means date is mentioned, reference is mentioned, amount has been posted, or and amount of 18,000 is rightly posted, means we can now open to mark it as it has been done. It's not the end of purchase. We will now search. We will now going to see if purchase is present anywhere else. Start your search. If you can see purchase, question is being ended and we cannot see purchase anywhere else. I think we'll have to see once again. This was the purchase you have posted, and now let's see if purchase is present anywhere else. No, purchase is not present. It means all posting related to purchase is completed. So what you will do now, it's time to see how we can calculate its balance. Before that, we can extend our separator. Purchase ledger, 18,000 completed. Nothing else is mentioned anywhere else, so we can start its balancing. First step is to calculate sum of both sides. Sum of debit side is 18,000 as no amount is present elsewhere. Sum of credit side is 0 as nothing is mentioned over here. First step is completed. You have summed up debit and credit side. Now make the comparison of both sides. Sum of debit is 18,000. Sum of credit is 0. Now choose the larger balance. Larger balance here is 18,000. So you are going to put this larger sum on total of both sides. Here you will write 18,000 on debit side and you are going to write same 18,000 on opposite credit side as well. So this step is completed. You have summed up both sides, chosen the larger sum. Larger sum was 18,000 and you have posted 18,000 on total of both sides. Next step is to see which side was with smaller sum. Here you can see total of credit side was 0. So smaller side is credit side. Go over here and calculate by balance, and which balance you will pick, initial balance. And how would you calculate? By subtracting smaller sum from the larger sum. On calculator you will write larger total first and then you will subtract the smaller total. What was the larger total? You can see here it is 18,000. Subtract the smaller total. You can see smaller total was 0. Here you have calculated your initial balance by subtracting small total from the larger total. Next step is to brought it down. You will go to the opposite side, will come downward, down step to the total and will write the same total which you have initially calculated, means 18,000. Why you are calling it brought down? Because you have chosen opposite side and bring it downward. That is why you will change its title as well. This would be called balance, but which balance? Brought down balance, as we have bring it downwards. So the purpose of making this ledger of purchase was to calculate balance brought down. We have achieved our purpose. That means this ledger is rightly completed. Mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after balance brought down. These balances were written just for the reference. Now they are unneeded to be written over here. You can erase it. What we have done, we have completed 7 ledgers. Purchase ledger is completed. Next step is to see this purchase is completed. Next to see what is unmarked. You can see we have Imran and it is unmarked, 18,000. You can understand now we are making ledger for Imran. For that purpose we will take headings from previous ledger and will post as it is for making of next ledger. And next ledger is Imran, who was your account payable. Mentioning account payable is very important. Don't forget to do that. Okay. Now we will be focusing on Imran, and procedure is same. If Imran is present on debit, we will debit. If Imran is present on credit side of journal, we will post on credit side of the journal as well. Start our search. We are looking for Imran. The first entry is arrived. Imran is credited by 18,000. So we will go to the credit side and will write 18,000 on credit side. Choose its reference. What was the amount? 18,000. Here we have 18,000. Imran is posted. What is written on the opposite side? Purchase. So word purchase will be used as reference. Write down by purchase. It's time to see date of 18,000. Here entry is arrived 18,000. Date is January 5. Put date over here. January 5. Date is written, reference written, amount is written. It means 18,000 is completed. As posting of 18,000 is completed, you can mark it as it has been done. It's not the end. We will see if Imran is present elsewhere. Start your search again. If we can see Imran, yes, Imran arrived. Here account payable 18,000. But you can see that there are two references being used for 18,000. So what we will do, we will debit Imran with 18,000, but this 18,000 would be divided into two parts. 17,600 and 400. Debit side Imran 17,600 first, and then 400 is needed to be debited as well. As there were two references for Imran 17,600, there are two references. Imran was debited by 18,000, two references bank and discount. So what you will do, you will put first reference bank and second reference discount. So it was discount received, so you may mention REC as discount received as well. Posting for 17,600 and 400. That means 18,000 Imran's posting is completed. Go back and see where is 18,000. Here you have seen Imran, which was debited by 18,000. This was the amount we have posted. As its date and reference is also been written, that means 18,000 is completed. Mark it as it has been done. There are few entries left. Now see if Imran is present elsewhere. We are searching for Imran. No, entries are completed and nothing else where Imran is present. That means posting for Imran is completed. It's time to calculate its balance. For balance, step number 1 is to calculate sum. So what you will do, you will take sum of all the amounts present on debit side. You have two amounts, 400 and 17,600. Write down total on debit side, and same you will do for credit side. Get the total of credit side, and since there is only amount mentioned on credit side, so sum of credit side is 18,000 as well. Here there is a magic. Debit side is also 18,000, credit side is also 18,000. Both balances are equal. So how would you calculate balance? Initial balance, because initial balance is calculated by subtracting smaller total from the larger total, and here we don't have any smaller total or the larger total. That means we will not be able to calculate balance brought down. For this, what you will do, you will write the total on both sides as total is equal. So you are going to write 18,000 on debit side and same total would be put on credit side. Since totals are equal, so balance will not be calculated, although the main purpose of making ledger was to calculate balance brought down. But since total amounts are equal, we will not be able even to calculate the initial balance. So what we will do, we will automatically consider that this ledger is completed without calculation of total, without calculation of balance brought down. So mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line after that. These balances were written just for the reference. Now they are unneeded over here. You can erase it. What we have done, completed 7th ledger. 1 second, we haven't changed the number. So it was 8th ledger Imran. And now we will see what is next after Imran. This ledger you had made. Next unmarked entry is 12,000, which is for Babar account receivable. You can understand next ledger is Babar account receivable. We will hire headings from the previous ledger and same headings would be posted for next ledger, and going to make Babar, erase Imran first. We are going to make Babar's account, and Babar was account receivable. So you can change it. Babar account receivable is our next ledger to be made. The very first time Babar which we are looking is present on January 6. Babar is debited by 12,000. Go to Babar's account and write down 12,000 over here on debit side. See what is reference for this 12,000. This is your 12,000 for Babar. What is written on the opposite side? Two sales. This will be used for reference. So write down two sales over here. See what was the date for 12,000. Here 12,000 arrived. Babar was debited. January 6 was the date. Write down the date January 6 over here. So date is mentioned, reference and amount is allocated to the relevant columns. Go back and see 12,000. So Babar was posted 12,000. It is completed, so mark it as it has been done. 12,000 completed. So ledger is still incomplete. We will see Babar if it is present anywhere else. Look for Babar, and here Babar is arrived and you have received a check from Babar. Babar is credited by 12,000. So we will go to Babar's account and we'll write 12,000 in amount column. Okay, it's time to see what was the reference for this 12,000. Amount was 12,000. You can see here Babar was credited with 12,000. What is written on the opposite side? Cash. So what you will do, buy cash would be the reference. It's time to see the date for 12,000. This was your entry. Babar was credited. Date was 25th January. So you will write January 25th. Date is mentioned. References and amount has also been written for 12,000. So it means this entry for 12,000 posting is completed. Mark it as it has been done. We are looking for Babar. Still some of the entries are present. Let's see if Babar is present elsewhere as well. No, Babar is not present. I think we'll have to see again if Babar is available. First Babar marked and Babar second time marked. Okay, Babar is not present elsewhere. It means we have completed our ledger posting for Babar's ledger. Let's have the total of both sides. Total of debit side is 12,000 as there is only one amount. Total of credit side is also 12,000 as there is no other amount present. Similarly, what we have done with previous ledger of Imran, same we are doing over here as total of both sides are equal. So what you will do, you will write total on debit side and same total you are going to write on credit side as well. Total is completed. We will not be able to calculate the initial balance. Why? Because there is no larger or there is no smaller sum. Balance would not be calculated. So we will automatically understand that Babar's ledger is completed without making or without calculation of balance brought down. So mark is as it has been done. Mark it as it has been done. We have put a line after it. You can see that basic purpose of calculation, basic purpose of making ledger was to calculate balance brought down, and without balance brought down we have completed Babar's ledger as total of both sides were equal. So here Babar's ledger is completed. It was 12, it was 8th ledger. Sums written over here, now they are not needed. You can erase them. 8th ledger complete for Babar. Now let's see what next is unmarked. This was Babar. We have marked, and next unmarked entry is sales. So you can now understood the way of choosing the title of ledger. So we are making sales ledger next. Babar ledger was completed, headings were used, and same headings we are taking from previous ledger and going to write same headings for next ledger just by changing the title. We were making Babar's ledger, it's time to make sales ledger. Alright, and we are going to change its number as well. It's 9th ledger, but rule is same. What you will do, you will see sales. If sale is present on debit side of journal, you will put amount on debit side. If sale is present on credit side in journal, you will put amount in credit side. So let's seek the sales in our journal entries. Here all entries are marked on upper part of the portion. First sale is arrived with 12,000 on credit side. So you will go to the sale ledger and will write 12,000 on credit side. It's time to see its reference for 12,000. So here you have seen your sale is credited by 12,000. What is written on the opposite side? It's Babar. So you will write by Babar. Babar was your account receivable. So put reference as well, account receivable. It's time to see the date for 12,000. Here 12,000 was credited, date was January 6. So come to the ledger and write down date January 6. Date is mentioned, reference is mentioned, amount is written 12,000. So go back and mark it as everything related to this entry has been completed. Mark it as it has been done. So we are making sales. Let's see if sale is present anywhere else. Yes, we have seen sale is also present in January 10. 4,000 credit, 4,000 would be written on credit side. Here you have put 4,000. It's time to see its reference of 4,000. So here 4,000 arrived. You can see 4,000 for sale is credited. What is written on opposite side? Cash. Put its reference. That means buy cash over here. It's time to see the date for 4,000. Here 4,000 sale is credited. Date is January 10. Come over here and write down date January 10. Date completed, reference completed, amount posted, go back for 4,000. Since this amount is posted rightly, you can mark it as it has been done. Alright, next we will see if sale is present anywhere else. We are going downward and looking for sales, but sale is not present. What does that mean? All postings related to sales are completed. It's now we are open to calculate its balance. First step is to calculate the sum of both sides. Sum of credit side we can have, we will select these two amounts. Sum of credit side is 16,000. Sum of debit side is nothing, so its total is 0. We have calculated sum of both sides. It's time to make the comparison of both total. Credit side 16,000, debit side 0. Choose the larger sum. Larger sum is 16,000, so you are going to put this larger sum on total of both sides. So you have put this larger sum on credit side, put the same amount on debit side as well. This way, first step is completed. You have summed up both sides, taken the larger sum and put on the both side, total of both sides. Next step is to choose the side which is smaller. Here total was 0, so smaller side is debit side. There you will calculate the balance. Which balance you will calculate? It is initial balance. How would initial balance be calculated? You will subtract smaller total from the larger total. That means on calculator you will write larger sum and will subtract smaller sum. Which sum was the larger? Here you can see it is 16,000 the larger sum, and you will subtract smaller sum which was 0. You have calculated initial balance. Next step, to brought it down. What you will do, you will go to the opposite side, will come down step to the total, and will write the same balance which you have calculated initially. This was 16,000. Post over here. You have brought initial balance to the downward side. That is why you will change its title. It would be same place is, actual place is this, by balance. And which balance you have written? It is brought down. BD for brought down. How? Initial balance was written on debit side. You have come to the opposite side credit, and again at downward sloping you have written the balance. That is why it is called balance brought down. Purpose of making sale ledger was to calculate balance brought down. Purpose is sorted out. That means we have completed our sale ledger. Mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line. After that, it's still sales ledger, and that doesn't mean we have completed everything. There are several other entries which are still unmarked, and we are going to make ledgers for those entries. Here some we had calculated, but just for the reference, they are now not needed over here. You may erase them. Sales ledger is completed. Let's see what next. Title is still unmarked. This was your sales, and you have completed this ledger. Next unmarked entry is 400. This is office supplies. You have an understanding. Next ledger would be for office Supplies. Yes, office supplies. What we will do, we will hire headings from previous ledger and use for making the next ledger just by changing the title. And what we are going to do, we were making sale ledger and next title would be, as you have seen, is office supplies. So you will write down title office supplies over here and change its number as well. We are up to 10th ledger office supplies, but headings would be same and rule will be same. We will be looking office supplies if they are debit on journal. In journal we will post on debit side. If they are present on credit side, we will post on credit side. Let's look the office supplies. Here is your first entry arrived, office supplies. It is debited by 400. Go to the ledger and write 400 on debit side because office supplies were present on debit side. Let's see its reference of 400. Office supplies 400 were debited. What is written on the opposite side? It's to cash. Come to the ledger and write down to cash over here. It's time to see its date of 400. You can see here we have 400, date is January 8. Go back and write down the date, which is January 8. Date is mentioned, reference is given, amount is written. What does that mean? Posting for 400 is completed. That means you can open to mark it, mark this 400 as completed. We are making office supplies. Let's see if office supplies are present anywhere else. We are going downward and see incomplete entries for office supplies. No, office supplies are not present anywhere else. That means all posting related to office supplies are completed. It's time to take the balance. First step is to sum of both sides. Sum of debit side is 400. Sum of credit side is 0 as nothing is mentioned over here. Sum of debit side is 400 as there is only one amount present. First step is completed. You have summed up both sides. Now make the comparison. Which side is the larger side? Debit side. 400 is the larger sum. Take this sum and write larger sum on both sides. Put 400 on debit side and same amount would be posted on credit side as well. Total is written. Next step is to see which balance is the smaller sum and which side is the smaller side. Here the balance was 0, total sum was 0. You can decide it as a smaller side. Here you will be going to calculate balance. Which balance you are going to calculate? It is initial balance. How would it be calculated? By subtracting smaller sum from the larger sum. On calculator, what you will write? Larger sum minus smaller sum. Larger sum here you can see is 400 and then you will subtract smaller sum which is 0. Put 0 over here. This way you have calculated your initial balance. It's time to take it downward. You have calculated 400 on credit side. First step is to go opposite side debit and bring cursor downward, down step to the total, and you are going to write same initial total which we have already calculated, but since you have brought it down, so you will change its title and will write this balance as to balance, but you will mention this balance was brought down, BD, brought down. The purpose of making office supplies was to make balance brought down, was to calculate the balance brought down, and we have calculated. Purpose is sorted out, so you can mark it as it has been done by putting a closing line. These sums were calculated just for the reference. They are now not needed. You may erase it. What is happening? We are in the chapter of journal, ledger and trial balance. Second step we are doing, and we here now can say that 10 ledgers we have completed. For just for the time being, I'm suggesting you to take the break and come back, and we will be completing the next part of the question. Consider its second part. In first part we have completed journal. In second part we are making ledgers. Since this is huge question, very long question, so many ledgers are to be completed. Breaks are also very important. So for the time being, take a break and come back soon. It would be a short break. you will see the next part of ledgers we will be making, and we will try to complete this question in third part. Thank you very much for your time. Please come back soon for having the next part of this question. Allah Hafiz.